Weiter mit dem Thema Digitalisierung beziehungsweise Simulation. Und zwar mit Mikko Salminen von Visual Components und Samuli Ahonen, Kollege von ihm, auch von Visual Components. Und ihr Thema ist Factors for Successful Simulations. Yeah, we should have it here. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, stage is yours.
Thank you. So welcome everybody. And we are from Visual Components, company doing 3D simulation for manufacturing and automation. And we're talking today with Samuli about factors for successful simulation, how to implement simulation as a tool in your business in a good way. Something we hear on trade shows quite often, like here at Automatica, is that we have a customer or prospect coming to us saying that our management wants Industry 4.0. How do we do it?
Yeah, this is a question we get, and this type of question, it sounds a bit that the person asking may or may not know exactly what they want. So it's a bit naive question. So we need to educate oftentimes our clientele.
Yeah, and we both have been working for quite some time in the let's say simulation business. So I myself were using simulation for 7 years, and now I've been helping other companies for 14 years with this. And you, Samuli, you've been more on the expert side of things.
Yeah, if you represent like the commercial side, I come from the technical side, and I was also a user of Visual Components first, and now over 10 years working directly in the digital manufacturing industry for Visual Components.
Yeah. So we've been hearing these buzzwords coming and going, but what is there is to think how to plan for these things, how to implement it, and why it's important. So we talk about digital manufacturing, but how to really get it into an organization and into good use.
Yeah, it feels like the industry starts to understand that digital manufacturing is valuable. We don't need to educate companies anymore for that. That is kind of given. But then how to do it, that's something where we can help.
Yeah, and it's not always clear for these people, yeah, we want digital twin or Industry 4.0,
Yep.
So the goal, what you want is there, but how to get there?
Exactly. So a lot of those terms, they were kind of stolen by marketing departments before engineers actually figured out what they mean. And to get there, you need to kind of set the goal, you need to know what you want to do, and you need to kind of make a plan to get there step by step.
So I think we need, like these people here, you need to have the right people.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it starts from. So the steps, let's say, to the summit, to the peak, to your goal. You need the people, you need to set up a dedicated team that starts to work with these things. You need to promote internally that you raise the awareness inside your organization. You need to involve people on different levels. You need to train the users and finally create in-house competence. And we'll step into each one of these in more detail.
Yep, real quickly. So yeah, setting up the dedicated people, so it can't be anybody's like side hustle, especially if the organization is a little bit larger. It needs to be dedicated team.
And that means that here you start to gather together the people who understand the value in what digital manufacturing can bring to your business, what kind of benefits and so on. And we have a good example, one of our customers, FlexLink, a Swedish company headquartered in Gothenburg. They have a FlexLink design tool built on our platform. And there they did it the way that the COO was driving this whole thing. And he gathered together the people to start working on this new engineering toolset. And I think they've been doing this exactly in the right way, kind of building with a dedicated team and promoting, kind of taking all the steps. Yeah. And I think one of the things to mention already is that we will have examples later on. And I think what we spoke, that many of these, they could fit in any of the steps. So they have done many things correctly.
That is very true. Next slide. Yeah, promote internally. So basically, you have the dedicated team, but the whole organization needs to be aware of what are the benefits of digital manufacturing, so that it doesn't kind of stay in the corner.
Yeah. And again, it's to inform people maybe about the technical features, but also about the business benefits. Why to do these things? Why is it necessary or important for the business to grow into the digital landscape? Okay, and then, I mean, we have people from all levels. So you have engineers, experts, financial people, business people, and of course the top managers or direction.
Yeah. There needs to be the dedication from the decision makers, basically.
Yeah. And here, we didn't have too much time, but I want to take 1 or 2 extra seconds to thank you again for these graphics. You spent considerable amount on working on this slide. So
beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. Good. But let's go forward, because I think at the end we want to talk a bit more about the transition overall with the digital landscape. Another example here, how to involve people. Customer. This is a Finnish customer, Kone, the second biggest elevator and lift and escalator company in the world, and how they did these things. Is nice that they have built a global team of people, and they are sharing information between locations on how to use the simulation and what kind of projects they've been doing. And that's the important part.
All right, then kind of like a knowledge building, train the user. So it also needs to be users on all levels. Maybe back in the days we also made the mistake that we only trained the actual users of our software, but we need to educate the decision makers, maybe the sales force in a company, so that they all know what is possible. Otherwise, it again kind of remains maybe in a corner of those simulation experts.
Yeah, and we don't all need to be trained to the level of the expert, but
exactly.
Really it's for the top management just enough to understand what can you do, what can you maybe not do, and what is reasonable to do with reasonable effort. And something that I think the top management needs to drive through is what we have the other one, the standard methods, that instead of being a nice to have tool that someone uses, it should be a must have tool that is used in every project and throughout the company, and in same way regardless is it Finland, Germany, US or China where it's being used.
Yeah, and we've seen, for example, system integrator who is selling systems. If they simulate and create animations and digital version of that system before, in every case, they will learn the process, and the process will kind of be streamlined. Creating then a next simulation for next project becomes always faster and faster, and it kind of becomes like a air we breathe type of a thing during the process. Same thing with the manufacturer. If you're expanding and creating a new line, kind of as a default create the simulation first, and then you're kind of naturally skill building the whole organization towards the digital manufacturing.
Yeah, and this is still every now and then we hear, even among the customers that normally use simulation for the project, sometimes we hear that, yeah, we didn't do it, and then, yeah, the robot was out of reach or something bad happened, and then fingers start to point. And then you have this good feeling if you did this kind of little insurance or little practice to avoid these situations.
We have quite a few slides. I guess we need to kind of speed it up.
Yeah. So one good example is another global company, Wärtsilä. They make diesel engines, power generators, and what Tero Kujamäki, project manager there, said that visual components is now our standard when planning projects and processes. So it's really a standard tool in implementing new production systems or new production processes.
And it becomes like a communication platform. Everybody understands a visual representation of a future line or a robot cell.
Yeah. And it's also maybe backed up in many companies by having really a good set of tools and components to work with. And here is one example from Langenthal, Switzerland, Güdel. I think we both worked with this customer.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. But there's a big set of components in our software, and this is one of the key aspects to make it easy to access for everybody, that you have easy to use tools to start from. Okay. So we're coming to the point where you've been introducing the tool in your organization, you're getting people involved and the thing going. And now in the early steps, maybe you don't have the experts in-house, but there are experts out there. So you can use externals in the beginning.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend kind of outsourcing digital manufacturing to consultants, but consultants in the beginning can kind of speed it up and they can be the catalyst to make things move faster forward. So oftentimes we do, for example, pilot projects together with customers to help them faster on their way.
And once there is that initial spark and push, then you can create your in-house competence and know-how and train more and more people and on a higher level and take on those more challenging tasks.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think you, well, again, both of us were involved with this one. A customer from Netherlands, Fortman, doing steel beam processing equipment. Maybe you can say a few words about these guys.
Yeah, the video you can see, this was basically the pilot project together with them. So they specified very detailed what they actually want from the simulation, how do they want to create those, and the fruit of this project wasn't just this video, but kind of like a component library of things. And during the pilot project, they learned how to do these, and off they go.
Yeah, and very detailed, but this is really used as a sales tool to convince the customer, drive real input data through it, analyze the statistics and the system behavior and capacity, and finally even step into the virtual reality.
Exactly.
The whole thing. Good. So a little recap. So how to get up there with your team is set up the dedicated team, dedicate time for these people, promote internally, involve people on different levels, train people on different levels, and finally create the competence in-house. And now going back to where we started from, people asking Industry 4.0 digital twin. This is a good slide, a guy from Microsoft, Jeff Winter, he shared in LinkedIn. The relationship between the physical and digital world, because many times people are asking for the digital twin without knowing what it actually means. And it depends who you ask, which company, which person, it can mean different things. And quite often it could be that they're talking or asking about digital twin while their mind just mean digital model.
Yep. So creating a simulation, a virtual version of your production line, which is just simulating the system, that is typically digital model. There is no real-time data exchange between the real and the digital. And when basically the digital twin and the physical twin, the real twin, they are completely in sync, exchanging data in real time, then we can start to talk about digital twin. But they are all very valuable.
Yeah, and I think here you mentioned it once that, or was it another colleague, that in the digital twin, when you go to that level, if you put, for example, a controller together with the model, the controller doesn't really know, am I talking to the virtual replica, the digital twin, or the real system? So then we have reached a level of digital twin.
Basically, in the ideal world, they share the same database.
Yeah. Okay, let's grab a couple more slides. So talking a bit about production system lifecycle.
Yeah, so basically what we see, you first do a concept of a new system. So when you are starting to create, let's say, a system integrator, a new line. So then when your concept is ready, then you do the engineering. Then you do the commissioning, you put it on the shop floor, you make sure that it works. And then finally, there's an operation. You need to operate the line. And in a similar fashion, we can see the same steps in the digital manufacturing, where digital manufacturing can be kind of helpful and involved. So, of course, you should do a couple of iterations in digital world with your concepts. Typically, your first idea is not the best idea. So do iterations in the digital world, because on a shop floor, it's very costly. Then you do the simulation and analysis. You can run long simulations and productions in the virtual world and test out. Then you can commission it virtually. So to test your PLC programs, program your robots in a virtual domain. And finally, you can do remote monitoring, remote operation when it's operational, and this cycle can start from the beginning in order to optimize and improve.
So basically very similar steps with the real world and the digital. digital side. Yeah.
So then when we are doing conceptual design simulations, some people are tempted to say that that's your digital twin. We a little bit disagree with that, but down the line you will get to your digital twin. But even the path, if you're just doing simulations, you're kind of educating your organization towards the digital twin and Industry 4.0.
Yeah, and I think we're reaching the end of our time slot and our presentation. So we want to thank you for your time, and we don't have a slide about where we are. We are a well-kept secret, but we will disclose that much information that we are in Hall B5, stand 402. At 5 o'clock, we will have a networking event. We have some of our colleagues here. If you want to join us for a drink and to see our collaboration with NVIDIA, please join at 5 o'clock in Hall B5. And if you have any questions, we are happy to answer here or there. Thank you.